Welcome, everybody, to the Tuesday edition Minions of the Zoo. I'm your keeper this evening, Skep, and with me I have Minions Prospero.
Hello.
And the Harry Channel.
Good especially.
Welcome, gentles all. I hope you're having a good evening this evening. Was just talking with Prospero about some of the hijinks that that the new intellectual thought leader of the puerile people of the United States, Elon Musk, has just executed a most excellent troll on the people involved with the CBC in Canada, and I definitely want to talk about that later on tonight. So if you guys would help remind an old man to cover that. That's just one of the funniest things I've ever seen. Prospero and I were just talking about that.
On top of it,
joined us.
Glenn Beck posted a clip saying he's almost convinced that Elon Musk spent $44 billion just so he could troll the media. And Elon's response to Beck's post about this was
what?
Fringe benefit.
I love the fact that it's 69% funded, because yes. 69 is a great number. It really gives you a good visual image of what the government and the press are doing to each other in Canada.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes. They're not just friends. They are definitely friends with benefits.
Yeah, no, that's co-fellatio.
Yeah.
It's glorious.
Yeah, the government can call up the CBC at 3 a.m. and go, "Hey, baby,
yeah,
feels lonely. Mind if I stop by?"
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a fucky call.
Hey,
I brought tacos. I brought tacos.
Yeah, it's just.
God,
if you call me at 3 a.m, you better have a Carvel ice cream cake.
Yeah. Like Fudgy the Whale. It's Fudgy the Whale, Cookie Puss, and and I don't know. There's a St. Patrick's thing. Is Carvel ice cream any good, or is it just shapeable?
Carvel ice cream is, to my way, it's very average ice cream.
It is average ice cream, but if you're making ice cream cakes, you don't use quality ice cream.
No, right.
You're not going to use Talendi gelati. You know,
what is the ingredient that they put in ice cream to make
gum it up?
Thicker? Yeah, to gum it up. Yeah,
like
exactly.
The xanthan gum of
xanthan
ice cream.
Gum.
Xanthan gum is a very common stabilizer in ice cream.
Yeah,
but there's also in better ice cream they use the stuff that's derived from seaweed, and I can't remember. Can't remember what that's called, but there are a number of thickening agents that you can do. But to my mind, if you just get Haagen-Dazs, right? Haagen-Dazs vanilla, it literally has 5 ingredients.
Carrageenan.
Yeah, it doesn't need any additional
soluble
ingredients.
Fiber derived from red seaweed, and it's been used for centuries to thicken and stabilize food.
Yeah, I actually read a fair amount of literature about how ice cream works, as one does, because I wanted to get good at making ice cream. And
what did you find? Well, what did you find in your research about the making of quality ice cream?
Well, the most important thing is temperature, right? And what you're trying to do to make it smooth, it isn't really a function of how much fat you put in it, as one might think. It's really a function of the size of the ice crystals. So you need to pre-chill everything before you actually try to freeze it. You want to get it close to freezing.
You're talking about high quality ice cream.
Yeah.
Okay.
The main thing is you're not
have to
talking
control about the industrial process for things like.
Well, in the industrial process, they're going to do the same thing. They're going to try to, and they'll have a lot of control over temperature. The difference in big industrial stuff is obviously they're not sure how it's going to be handled. You know, like if some pimply-faced 19-year-old with a part-time job is going to leave it sitting in a box in an aisle at 3 a.m. in the morning at Safeway. So you want to stabilize that stuff. Do you guys recall the whole scandal about the ice cream sandwiches that didn't melt? Okay. It's about
Wait, what?
I'll find it. You two chat amongst yourselves. I'll look it
Oh
up.
my
for
God, that sounds terrifying.
you. Yeah, it was Walmart. I think it was Walmart ice cream sandwiches. Go on. I have
They
a
would
reference.
what
melt?
we've all encountered because of different freezers, ice cream that has gotten that gummy texture. I mean, I can deal with ice crystals in ice cream better than I can that it's now chewy crud that you get from that, and it's probably xanthan gum. But you know what I mean? It's that kind of reclotted, horrible. Oh, look, the ice cream platelets have globbed up.
Check private chat.
Oh, MASH did it. That's terrifying.
Yeah, even Snopes covered it because, of course, you know, when I look for accuracy, I look for Snopes.
Oh yeah. The real reason that Walmart ice cream sandwiches don't melt. I was looking at that article when you posted it. Interestingly, great minds looking at the same thing. So what's in this ice cream that's making it seemingly heat proof? So what is
Guar gum.
Yeah.
And calcium
So-
sulfate.
So what is the difference, Harry?
Between what and what?
Why doesn't it melt?
It's not really ice cream.
It's a chemical
It's
cocktail.
so stabilized by gums and fillers that even when it melts, it doesn't actually change its shape very much.
So there are like
It's not frozen, but it's still a solid, if you know what I mean.
Yes. It gets that weird consistency that is horrible. Ew.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that's interesting. So both guar gum and calcium sulfate are crucial to the creation of the ice cream sandwich. And the guar gum acts as an emulsifier to stabilize the whole thawing process. Calcium sulfate it says in the article, calcium sulfate absorbs the moisture, which you would expect is a topic, and as all those salts are, and helps it retain its shape. All those other gum ingredients are also thickening agents. Those two biggest contributors to what makes this ice cream different from other kinds. That's not all, though. There's another factor playing a part in the ability of these ice cream sandwiches to seemingly go against the laws of nature, and that's fat content. According to Virginia Tech professor, my safety school, and food chemist Sean O'Keefe via the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, it's not just temperature that determines how fast ice cream melts. It's fat, too. It sure is. And ice cream that's made with less fat is actually going to melt slower. Less fat is slower. It's counterintuitive here, kids.
Yeah,
Because
that's why
it
Haagen-Dazs
needs to
melts
absorb.
like crazy.
Right, because it needs to absorb more heat before the melting reaction can take place.
That's why
It's
body
food
fat's so
it's
difficult to
actually
get
just
rid
chemistry.
of.
And so, it says that, all ice cream depends on a bit of chemistry to work. Since it's made from sugar and fat, other additives are needed to keep these ingredients from separating because they don't naturally mix. And in your standard gallon of ice cream, the American Chemical Society says lecithin is a common emulsifier used. Ice cream from the soupy mess into scoopable deliciousness.
Soy lecithins.
Exactly.
See a lot of that in everything, and it's why almost every product may contain soy, does contain soy, because soy lecithin is so.
Some do use sunflower lecithin.
Yeah, I was going to say not everybody uses
but
soy lecithin.
Most things when you're on a tight budget with low margins, soy lecithin is going to be what you're going to get.
Yep. And you're going to see more and more products go to that because of
people don't realize how big the soybean
pressure.
growing business is.
Oh yeah,
in America, soybeans are one of the principal crops of the United States.
They converted some tobacco people over to soy. Not a lot in Virginia and North Carolina because they still sell tobacco. There is a global market, so.
And Snopes is amazing. I'm looking at off to the side on this article. It says most searched, and it says no vaccines aren't linked to sudden adult death syndrome. False rumor claims Paul Pelosi brought attacker home from gay bar, and Social Security fun facts, in quotes. This is a great page. I wonder what kind of fun facts they have.
Well, I read a fun fact today that the that the monovalent vaccines are not being used in the United States anymore. Only the bivalent, because those are new.
And why is that?
New and well, I don't know. Mr. Musk asked them the same question. I don't know. I can't wait to see why we are now doing the bivalents only. But the monovalents are no longer available from either Moderna or Pfizer.
This is interesting. When you get on here, we need to be careful what we say, because we don't want to dispense misinformation. Obviously, no, you haven't. I'm just
bivalents have
saying
monovalents.
that.
And my God, I wouldn't want to be accused of misinforming anyone.
Well, no, and we don't hear it at and so that's why I'm saying I went to Twitter, not Twitter. I went to Google and I said, how helpful is the bivalent booster? You'll be happy to know that the research team found that the bivalent boosters were 62% effective at preventing severe COVID-19 infection. The monovalent boosters were only 25% effective. In total, the bivalent boosters were 37% more effective in preventing hospitalization and death. This figure was arrived at by taking the 62% effectiveness figure, which was ginned up by a bunch of assholes, and subtracting the 25% figure, which was ginned up by a different bunch of assholes, and getting the 37%. What is the NIH doing?
Pulling.
What does the NIH do?
I don't know. I wouldn't want to be accused of misinformation, but I think bud pulling might have something to do with it.
Oh my God!
Yeah. Did you see?
Did you know that NIH is 100% black?
I'm sure they are. Did you see the Honorable Mr. Radcliffe's testimony?
No. Tell us about that.
The national intelligence people back in the day. Yeah, it seems that there's a little inconvenient trap that somebody whose initials are AF might have caught himself in, which might be, I don't know, lying to Congress. Because State Department, the former head of the CDC, Dr. Redfield, and everybody else was pretty sure something, lab leak something. And all of that was classed as conspiracy theory by something Collins Fauci.
Yeah, right.
Apparently, and in Mr. Radcliffe's opinion, because he was National Intelligence Director, I believe, to cover their bases, that they were funding something lasagna game of function. It's 3 fucking years of being lied to.
I was just looking at this on Snopes. It says COVID-19, why the lab leak theory should be formally investigated.
Oh, suddenly they're around to that one, are they?
We don't know how the virus arrived in Wuhan, how its sequence evolved to allow human infection, and under what conditions it infected the first people who crossed its path in nature, eating bat sandwiches. Okay, that last part was...
we may never know. It may be unknowable, Skep. It may be unknowable. It may
there are things that are.
Unknown,
it may be one of those things.
Unknown.
Like, there could be a teapot in orbit around the sun on the exact opposite side of the sun from us, and we would never find it. It could be there.
Yeah.
Holy
And
crap,
it might actually be the source of the virus.
It could be a blue teapot or a green teapot. We never know.
Because even though the DNA sequencing on it,
even if I could see it, I wouldn't know.
Nothing that they normally found in nature. That doesn't mean it's not in nature. Oh, matter of fact, the fact that it existed once it infected humans made it in nature. So see, it was always in nature.
Well, you know, there's a
ergo boom.
Well, there's a small number of people on this planet who actually really know this stuff.
Yes.
They know the human genome or genomes in general for infectious diseases, like other people know code or baseball stats or whatever.
Less than 1/10 of 1% of Americans.
Yeah, there's a handful of people on this planet.
What you just said, Harry.
Who actually know how this shit works, who can look at it and go, I don't see that suddenly happening.
Like Dr. Redfield.
Well, they can look at the number of mutations and they know what the mutation rate is for these things, and they can kind of tell if it's like the distance between this and anything in nature is too great.
There's no bad DNA here.
Yeah, it's too big a jump.
Yeah.
You know,
if it's missing some things from nature that it developed in nature, suddenly those things are sheared away.
Yeah.
Okay, chemically. And they've mutated the chemical, which is what I read about the SARS-CoV. That's one of the express thing, or some of the physical features of the virus indicate almost point to editing.
Well, the original SARS was a lab leak.
Well, I have a
no. That was a bad thing. That the guy was eating the sandwich.
I have a point that I desperately want to make about this.
Okay, please do.
Which is, the problem is that since there's such a small number of people, there's a whole bunch of people sort of pretending they know what they're doing, right? And they just make noise. But mostly they're just regurgitating whatever the party line is. That's why consensus doesn't necessarily mean something unless you really understand whose consensus we're talking about. Right? Not just everybody in a white coat, you know, is a scientist. Some of them, you know, are working at the rub and tug at the back of the the beauty parlor.
But some are pretending to be science editors.
But when there's such a small number of people with such a narrow specialty, I'm not a big believer in conspiracies, but it does not take a whole lot of coercion, a whole lot of soft and hard power to control the narrative coming from a group that small and that sort of marginalized, because those people depend on their livelihood. You know, basically, it's not a thing they can just do in their garage, really. Right. So they're very, very dependent on the machinery of society to do what they do. And if somebody decided to put their thumb on the scale, they could probably do it for quite a while, like say 3 years, maybe.
Yeah.
Not
before the cartel gets broken and somebody decides the risk is worth coming out and saying something.
Well, what happened is the cartel didn't get broken, but the oversight committee got flipped. And when Dr. Redfield was called, because you remember he was not invited to those strategery meetings. He was deliberately excluded, except he was an active practicing virologist. We had what you want at the head of the CDC. If you think about what the Center for Disease Control what we have to fear the most in public medicine policy, which is viral pandemics, having a virologist as the head of the CDC is a pretty good play. At least it is in my opinion. And he was excluded from those meetings where suddenly it was all determined that it was a conspiracy theory, that it was a lab leak. And I think that tells you everything you need to know about who was pulling what strings.
I would agree.
Because
all the money.
Collins and Fauci had dogs in the hunt with lots and lots of money attached to it. I'm not saying that they personally designed it. The money attached to it may have designed it. I don't know.
That's
I'd have to cui bono it, but AF, it's perfect, isn't it? As fuck. And his Confederate. I think they both have how did the Honorable Mr. Radcliffe put it?
Yes.
Been terribly inconsistent with their testimony.
Yeah. I just love the wording, the careful lawyerly wording of Snopes. But the fact that the pandemic began in the vicinity of a main virus research center that specializes in the study of coronaviruses with epidemic potential in humans, and that this just happened to be a coronavirus with epidemic potential in humans at the Wuhan Institute of Virology, has given rise to another hypothesis. Something strange, something called the lab leak theory. Lab accidents have already led to human infections, including the H1N1 flu pandemic of 1977, which killed more than 700,000 people. Which theory is correct? In the absence of definitive proof and without promoting conspiracy theories, there needs to be serious international conversation about the fact that SARS-CoV-2 originated in nature and that Dr. Fauci was right. Okay, that last part I added too.
Here's the thing that I love about the lawyerly language of Snopes is it utterly disregards other lab leaks, and it utterly utterly disregards the top virologist in the United States saying the genome sequencing don't add up to the story. Yeah. And I have 5 other people here with me saying the same thing. Because, I don't know, we're in virology, and one of the things we have to do is learn the code on viruses.
I have to just remind you one thing in Snopes. In giving the zoonosis theory, it goes back to a February 19th, 2020
bullshit
article. Yeah, I'm not making this up.
That's when As Fuck started.
It's the Lancet article. Yes, it's the Lancet article.
That's when he
signed by 27 scientists.
Oh yes, because that means something.
27 scientists.
27 scientists.
Many of whom were sociologists.
Yeah, he had 25.
Yeah. 27 scientists for the Vatican have signed some interesting things when it comes to people like Copernicus, I too am a scientist.
What were anyway.
I hate these people. God, I hate these people. I mean, it's just, I know I was never supposed to hate people. I was told, don't hate people. Just, pity them, scorn them, whatever. But I hate these people. I actively hate these Weasley little seam pickers.
Prospero.
Yes.
Snopes is terrible. I mean, you're talking about Snopes, right? You hate them?
Yes.
Okay, so I was going to do this on Saturday, but I think I need to give this to Skep so that you can appreciate it now, because it's just such...
Oh, can I take a break real quick? I'll be right back.
Sure.
Thank you.
Certainly. What are we looking at, Harry?
Well, we're going to look at this when Prospero gets back. I put a link in the private chat for you.
Oh, okay.
It's an example, my favorite recent example of Snopes being ridiculous.
Yeah, there actually is a really disappointing and utterly disgusting thing, which everybody will go and look up about Mickey Mantle in Snopes. When I saw this had a baseball reference, I was afraid it might be that. So
no, this is a different one, but it's a perfect example of how ridiculous they are in terms of how they fact check things.
No,
Prospero will enjoy this. And it'll get her ire, even frothier. Oh, I was actually thinking about making donuts today, for no particular reason other than I had a lot of work to do and I didn't want to do it. So I was thinking, I was sort of thinking, maybe I could stop working and just go teach myself how to make yeast donuts. Because I made donuts the other day for the first time. I made cake donuts and fried them, and they turned out pretty well.
Those were the things that you posted the picture of.
Yeah, I like trying.
Good.
I like challenging myself to do new stuff.
I think that's wonderful.
But I find I sometimes am amused by me being blindsided by obvious things like jelly donuts. I've always loved a good jelly donut.
Absolutely, I'm with you 100%.
Because it's just that cheap, shitty, $5 cubic meter jam that they put in them at the donut shop. It's perfect because it's got that high acid to go with all the sugar and grease.
Absolutely.
But
kill those germs somehow.
The difference, I always thought, well, I wonder how they make jelly donuts. And it's like, the way they make jelly donuts is they make a regular donut and then they don't put a hole in the middle. And then they just they just take a piping bag and a nozzle and just shove jelly into it. The end. There's nothing sophisticated about it. It's not complicated in any way. In fact, it's probably, other than the fact you have to not use a piping bag, easier because you don't have to put a stupid hole in it.
One of the most interesting things that I got to do when I was aboard the USS Kansas City was when I transitioned out of being the dispersing officer and became the food service officer. I got to know the night baker, and we had a night baker who had some real skill. This guy, and he basically gets up at midnight and goes to work, and he works like a 10-hour day from midnight to 10 in the morning. And then he has watch duties, and then he goes to bed. Night baker is one of the busiest guys on a ship, but he gets to work in a really low stress environment, really mellow environment with nobody else around. It's really a pretty cool existence. If I was going to be anything aboard a U.S. Navy ship, I might be the night baker. And this guy showed me all the techniques that he's a Filipino guy, and showed me this blend of techniques that he brought from his mother, who was a cook in the Philippines, and at a restaurant in the Philippines, a chef at a restaurant in the Philippines, and showed me all the ways that they made pastry, all the miracles he could do with dough to crisscross it and tie them into knots before they baked them. I mean, this was really quality stuff. This was not schlock cooking. This was good homemade cooking. That was a big focus of the Navy when I was in, was getting the chow right. And because chow had been a problem about 5 or 6 years before I got in particularly in the mid 60s. And so a charismatic admiral named Admiral Ney came in and revamped how the Navy did chow, and the focus is on excellence, fresh food, and it even changed the way that fresh food at sea replenishment, at least during peacetime, is done, so that ships at sea would get more fresh food, and it just completely it for talking with guys who were from the bad old days. I mean, we were in the middle of the Renaissance when I was in the Navy, the food Renaissance. And ever since then, Navy chow is amazing. It started in the submarine part of the Navy, where it was like a fetish to have the best chow, steak, lobster, great stuff all the time. And it's 24 hours availability on a submarine because of the way that the crews work. And you don't have normal sit down meals. You essentially have an open chow hall 24/7 with different parts of it open. And anyway, I don't know why I'm going on and on about food service in the Navy, but it was an interesting thing to see this guy go through all the things that he did in baking, all the little tricks that he knew, and he's doing this in industrial size proportions. We had to serve 1,200 rations every day, and this guy is making donuts for 1,200. One guy,
as one does,
in the middle of the night aboard a ship. It's
Hello.
it's just awesome.
Hello.
It's just pretty awesome.
I could probably eat 1,200 donuts.
Yeah. Depends on the day.
Well, if they're Krispy Kreme, they don't have anything to them.
Yeah,
So,
you're right.
You know,
they
they
just kind of
just kind of fall apart.
create a
It's just-
giant blob of dough and
It's
just
about it's like a donut and cotton candy had a baby.
yeah, it is.
There's not much to it.
People don't realize, the things that happen aboard
Gosh, they're good.
ship that you have to think about. Aboard submarines and like destroyers, smaller craft.
Don't serve a lot.
You
of
can
beans.
change. You can change the operating characteristics of the ship, or the ship in case of a destroyer, boat in case of a sub. You can change the operating characteristics by shifting stuff around inside. If you shift weight around inside the ship, you will affect the way it steers. I promise you. And it's so when you break stuff out, food is exceptionally heavy. Food has a lot of water in it. Food and you can actually change the turn swing in a DE by shifting stores from aft by shifting them forward. You can really change the way that it turns.
I'm sure our more diverse Lizzo-like Navy probably has other problems.
It's funny that you should mention that. I've been watching OCS videos, because now, like everything else, OCS at Newport, Rhode Island, that transforms people from civilians into naval officers, is thoroughly documented on YouTube. And it's interesting to see how it's evolved and changed since I was there in 1974.
I like the videos of the Air Force cadets.
Oh yeah,
and it's just funny, the comparison. It's a lot more low key. But I ate some MREs on Friday because I was so busy working that I had to tuck into some of my MREs because I was
What'd you eat?
hungry. I had some 8-year-old MRE pears.
How were they?
And they actually surprisingly good. Very little container, very little package taste. They're doing this technique now. I'm trying to remember what it is, but basically it's a combination of pressure and heat for pasteurizing it so that they don't have to cook the crap out of all the fruit. And it really works. I mean, this stuff only barely changed color. I didn't really feel like I was being put out too much. I was fine.
Yeah.
On the other hand, I did have one of those little MRE sandwich things, and all of the shelf-stable MRE bread is pretty terrible. Even straight. The stuff they do to make bread maintain a bread-like shape in an MRE is just god-awful. And I've never tried the MRE pizza, but I don't think I want to. Though I digress, you're going to show Prospero that thing since she hates Snopes, because I think this is a perfect example of why Snopes is just pedantic and annoying. It's just pedantry.
Yeah, I went off and made sure my blood pressure was within normal range.
Okay.
If we're going to go after Snopes.
Let's see. Were we talking about the
Yogi Berra?
Yogi Berra thing. Yes. Did Yogi Berra eloquently explain the difference between practice and theory? The rumor is a classic yogiism uttered by baseball Hall of Famer Yogi Berra explains the difference between practice and theory. And here's what he said. In theory, there is no difference between theory and practice. In practice, there is. It's a great classic yogiism, but it is false, unfortunately. Yogi Berra actually said, in theory, there is no difference between practice and theory. In practice, there is.
Yeah. So they called it false because the words were transposed.
Yeah, there is no difference between.
It's freaking.
Yeah, and see, he said there's no difference between practice and theory instead of
theory and practice, and because those are totally different. Those are totally different.
Exactly.
To say there's no difference between theory and practice,
it's like
versus practice and theory, those are just worlds apart. Thanks Snopes for really adding to the conversation with your pedantic bullshit.
No, you're kidding. Baseball aficionados may remember Yogi Berra as one of the greatest catchers ever to play the game. No, he wasn't. He was a good hitting catcher, and he was a great general, but he wasn't amazing. But most people, Pudge Rodriguez is much better. But most people remember the New York Yankee icon for his various yogiisms, seemingly nonsensical or self-contradictory statements that actually convey serious thoughts once listeners untangle the knots of their usual phrasing, unlike our current president. Several of these paradoxical phrases, such as "it ain't over till it's over," "nobody goes there anymore, it's too crowded," "when you come to a fork in the road, take it," were collected in Berra's book, The Yogi Book. I really didn't say everything I said, along with anecdotes explaining their origins, but one phrase that is now frequently attributed to Yogi. In theory, there is no difference between practice and theory. In practice, does not appear in that volume because two of the words are interchanged. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Yep.
Stupid. Essentially true.
Nitpicking.
Listen to the next.
No, they just gave it a false. They didn't equivocate.
Right,
They didn't say
right.
69% true. They just went
100% false.
It's went to false.
Listen to what the practice and theory quote sounds a bit too eloquent for Yogi.
Oh, for God's sake, the man was not a dribbling
Pick it up.
idiot.
That's in this. That is word for word from Stokes. The practice and theory quote sounds a bit too eloquent for Yogi.
All they're doing
Are you new to Mr. Berra?
Yeah, they're perpetuating the myth that Yogi Berra, yes, he did off the cuff say some things that were pretty hilarious, but he was not an imbecile. And they're almost making it sound like, well, he was just too stupid to understand the difference.
He was not one of the 10 greatest catchers in baseball history. I can't believe that, they say,
Weeps and Elston Howard.
Johnny Bench,
Johnny Bench, yes, most definitely.
Catchers.
Both Yogi and Elston were on the coaching staff with Billy Martin.
Billy Martin, what a whack job.
Oh my God, what a piece of shit. That man was horrible. He was a horrible human being. And I know it from, I wasn't standing in the room when it happened, but a coworker of mine told me what he did to her. And I have no reason to doubt her. She was an older woman with a lot of experience in the hotel business. And what Mr. Martin did.
This is not inconsistent with Mr. Martin's stories.
No, it was beyond the pale.
Yep.
Beyond the pale.
Be specific, but yep.
Yeah, it was absolutely ridiculous because she worked in the luxury suites where the VIPs would stay. And so she had experience of celebrities. And could definitely tell the wheat from the chaff. Raymond Burr always sent her flowers. Now, he was a big orchid lover. He had his own orchid house and that kind of stuff. But
I remembered something about that.
That's the kind of gentlemanly individual that he was.
Yeah. But I remember something about him and orchids, or not orchids, but flowers. That was the
he grew in it, but he had an orchid house, and
really,
but he always sent her flowers as a way of saying thank you for the extra mile you go when I stay here, which was a very gallant thing to do, very old school, and.
Very in keeping with Raymond Burr is what
very in keeping with Raymond Burr.
Just a class act.
Yeah, and I mean, he was such a class act that people had to kind of go snooker, he's gay, right? And it was like, and we care why.
Fair point.
That's always been, so-and-so that. Speaking of Puro.
Yeah, sure.
I did find an article that says orchid fancier Raymond Burr. Now, is there a gayer combination of words than orchid fancier?
And you know what irritated me is more people made hay of his sexual orientation when he passed away. than they did his body of work.
Yeah, don't know, don't care.
Yeah,
It just doesn't matter. It's like finding out that the guy who played Gomer Pyle, what's his name? Jim Neighbors.
yes.
I remember finding out Jim Neighbors was gay, and I'm like, I don't care.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, I was like, so tell me something I didn't already pretty much think. You know, it didn't, it had no impact on my life. The most stunning thing to me about Jim Neighbors was he talked in the manner in which he spoke, and he sang so dramatically differently.
That was a surprise.
Yes, it was. And that was what was surprising about Jim Neighbors, is he had that magnificent singing voice, and he was golly when he really talked. I mean, that was his speaking voice.
Golly.
Yes, but
And it was legitimate.
that was
not
what
forced at all.
Southern Indiana. I mean, like Southern
Kentucky. Read Kentucky.
Yes, yeah, into Tucky. Like Pennsylvania.
People don't realize how Southern people from Southern Indiana are.
Or Illinois.
It's the same thing, Western Kentucky.
Yeah. They
all.
get Kentucky, and they might as well be Northern Alabama. I mean,
Not different. You're not wrong. You're not wrong at all.
But you know what I'm saying? It's like Tennessee ain't even there. We just hop straight down into the real Southern way of speaking.
Yeah.
And then there are other areas of Kentucky that you wouldn't know that people were Southern. Louisville. Not everyone around Louisville sounds particularly Southern.
Louisville's so cosmopolitan now.
Well, that's it. It's
go to Lexington and then go to Louisville and see the difference. You know what I'm talking about. I mean, Lexington is like Lexington is almost. They almost talk like Virginia people.
Well, yes,
like Western
they would.
Virginia people.
Well, that's horse country.
Yeah.
And it's they're more Tennessee to me.
Yeah, they all sound like they're from Bristol, Virginia to me.
Or Bristol, Tennessee. Well,
say Bristol, Virginia. Right.
Yeah, Southwest Virginia.
Yeah.
It's there is a unique Southwest Virginia accent that is a distinct one. And then there are a whole lot of people who are from Southwest Virginia who are they're more Southern. That's all you can say. The South side of Virginia, Petersburg and South, is much more Southern.
Yeah.
In its speech, much more akin to North Carolina than Richmond. Richmond has its own accent, kind of. A little bit like Charleston has its own accent.
Yes. I know what you're talking about.
Part of it is it's an accent that tended to kind of be with the like FFE types, the First Families of Virginia types, or those South Carolina founding families. And it's South Carolina, that Charleston and Richmond are why North Carolina is referred to as a vale of humility between two mountains of conceit. South Carolina and Virginia can disappear up their own ass really quickly if you get into genealogy or things like that. Well, my great grandfather's second cousin's aunt was a friend of Martha Jefferson. I mean, they're that bad.
Really?
They can be. They really can be. I don't care. There's stuck up Virginia, and there's the rest of the state.
Well, I was going to say, Virginia has changed into it. You almost need to break Virginia into northern and southern Virginia.
Oh, yes.
Now. And
Richmond barely belongs in the South anymore.
Well, Northern Virginia needs to break off, become its own state.
Maryland can have it.
or something.
They
Yeah,
sued each
exactly.
other down to the ground. If you
It's
know what I mean.
yeah, it's so different from the rest of Virginia.
Mhm.
You know, just in
We should
terms
have built a
of
wall. We should have built a wall at the Occoquan River, and we didn't. And now it is too late to build one at the Rappahannock. They're coming down here.
I was going to say. So where's the line? Yeah, where's
James
the line?
is going to be the James.
It's going
which is-
to be.
It's going to be most of Virginia is going to be Yankee.
I was going to say the James River is down where you are.
Yes. And I'm north of it. God damn it now. You know, so yeah, but I mean, Southside Virginia is basically south of the Appomattox.
Wow, no kidding.
Yeah, that's what's considered Southside Virginia. It's the flat farming country that borders North Carolina, those big counties.
Yeah, you have one of the most distinctive Virginia drawls. You talk like all the kids I went to high school with, which was that was back when kids in Alexandria, Virginia spoke with Virginia accents.
Well, I mean, my parents were Virginians, but when I moved to New England, I spoke a little bit like a cracker. Because the North Florida,
I don't hear New England in your accent.
Oh, no. I meant when I moved to New England, I sounded like a cracker.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
North Florida, South Georgia. What's the difference? I mean, it's a big difference now, but it wasn't then. So I was real 5, 6, 7, 8. That kind of, you know, when you think about central to southern Georgia,
mm-hmm.
and you get that real flat
1.5 syllables in it.
Yeah, you get that real flat. Flat has 2 syllables to it. And I said my numbers, like, even though my parents were Virginians, my classmates were Floridians. North Floridians.
North Floridians, which is the southern part of Florida.
Which is southern Georgia. You know,
people don't understand that the northern part of Florida is the southern part of Florida, and the southern part of Florida is the northern part of Florida.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
If you understand that statement, you understand a little bit of something about Florida, the people who make it up.
Yeah, Leonard Skinner comes from Jacksonville.
Right. Exactly. Precisely.
You know, and it's Duval County. It's not Duval County.
And just so you know, the capital is in the northernmost part of the state, 50 miles from the border.
Well, actually, Jacksonville's closer to the border than Tallahassee. Tallahassee's slightly south.
Well, that's true.
Southwest
Jacksonville
of Jacksonville.
Is almost yeah.
But I live south of the St. John's River, so that, you know, I don't know where that put me, but except in the not super ritzy part of town, but not the scary part where Leonard Skinner came from. But Tallahassee.
Tallahassee is only 28 miles from the border with Georgia.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's actually, as I look at it,
well, you've got that weird little hump along the coast.
Right.
For Georgia. But remember, you know, I mean, Jacksonville's a big sprawler. Well, they took over all of Duval County.
Have you spent any time in St. Augustine, by the way?
You know, we never went there.
It's worth going.
Oh, I know.
It's so beautiful. It's worth going.
I had a meal there.
Uh-huh.
Right after I got out of college, the boy I was dating, his family had gotten a place at Crescent Beach, which is south of St. Augustine. We went into St. Augustine for dinner, and I thought, why the hell did we? You know why? Because when we were on vacation, if my grandparents came down from Richmond, we went to Daytona. So we just drove A1A. Well, 1 and then A1A down. And so you just went through St. Augustine, and what did I care? We moved to New England right before my 8th birthday.
Going through downtown and seeing the architecture, the old churches and stuff down there. It's amazing.
You
would love that.
Of course I would. Of course I would. But, you know, you never visit your
I know.
I didn't do
I know
the
what you're going to say before you say it.
I didn't do the Freedom Trail in Boston
Mhm.
until Cree and I were up there in 2011. I lived there from 1966 to 1976 full time. Worked in Boston from 76 to 80 in the summers. And by fuck, I never walked the Freedom Trail.
No. I lived 20 miles from Pikes Peak and only climbed it once.
But it
Or
was
as Kamala Harris calls it, the Feed'em Trail.
the Freedom Trail.
Freedom.
Was it Feed'em or Fweed'em? I don't remember.
Well, it was Freedom is what I remember.
Fweed'em.
All I could think of is Freedom in the state. Like Maydall, Virginia, Freedom is across no county line.
She's wonderful.
Isn't
You know what the tragedy of Kamala Harris is? All kidding aside, guys,
what a waste of
is
money.
the fact that she didn't find out that she had been played by the system. And this is a woman, seriously, she has been failed up. She has been failed by the educational system, which should have pulled her out and said, you've got a little bit of potential, but here's what you need to do. You're not that great. She never had any of those loving experiences, and it really shows in that brittle, angry, frustrated personality that can't get anything done. She has no organizational skills at all, from what I can see. Has anyone detected organizational skills that I have not?
No, I think on some level she has to know, Skep. We've all met people who are impressive, right? Like your father sounds like a pretty impressive guy. You know,
yes, he's amazing.
When you walk into the room and you meet somebody who's impressive, it's there. And I don't think there's any amount of Dunning-Kruger that or whatever, or basically just sort of the world essentially with catfishing her with, you know, claims of her own talent that's going to make her not on some level get that little uneasy feeling that, wait a second, maybe I'm not real. Maybe I'm not quite up to the task. No, that's fine. Everybody keeps telling me how awesome I am.
It'll be okay. It'll be okay.
But you know, on some level, she's got to know. I don't think she doesn't.
And says, you know, hey, I'm having a feel. No, you're amazing. You're the balm of.
I think she knows.
Serotonin balm, but
I think she knows. She's just playing the game with the hand that she's been dealt, and you know, I think she's not brilliant. I mean, she's no Amy Coney Barrett or anything like that. Well, no. But she's smart enough to know she's
not even Ketanji Brown.
You know what cards to play and when the time comes. And
no, she's smart. Ketanji Brown is smart. She's just.
Can I say I told you guys? I didn't tell you guys, so because
we all
me, but I told you that Ketanji Brown would be better than some of those people. On that list, and she's turning out to be a little bit of a responsible judge. I'm kind of happy.
We'll see.
It might be. She did mainly financial. On the appeals.
Yeah,
from what I recall, but it's conceivable.
Did you read her opinion she wrote the other day?
No, I didn't. It is conceivable.
She wrote her first majority opinion for the court. How many majority opinions does Sotomayor write? That's right.
Written one? I didn't think she'd written one.
It depends what you mean by that. All depends on the meaning of the word she.
Yeah, it also depends on the meaning of the word right.
And also herself.
Yes.
It depends on that word too.
Yeah. That's the thing that troubled me the most about Ruth Bader Ginsburg was Sotomayor failed up big. That woman is Elena Kagan has the chops, okay? And
so does Ketanji Brown. You watch and see. She might be a liberal. She will be. She'll infuriate you, but she at least will do it.
Well, I mean, if they're like Ruth Bader Ginsburg, at least I can take a principled liberal, okay?
Exactly.
Especially
this
if they're logical.
To Ginsburg than Sotomayor.
Well, that's what was so disturbing, and it's how I knew how much Ruth Bader Ginsburg had slipped.
Yep.
Yep. Was the Hobby Lobby dissent, because it was hysterical. And I was
just being pissed off.
Well, it was utterly hysterical. And I had never read
When you're saying hysterical, do you mean your reaction to it?
Histrionic. No, it was histrionic.
Yeah. Oh, the histrionic. Yeah, that was my take on it also. It was just being pissed off.
Well, but that's not what Ruth Bader Ginsburg did in Dissents. That was out of character for her to be that slapdash. Because it was a tantrum. It wasn't a dissent.
She wouldn't have done that in front of Scalia.
She would not have done that in good health.
Yep.
Oh, I know she wouldn't have done it in front of him. He would have. Well,
he would have said, "My old friend, what are you doing?"
Well, they probably read each other's stuff. I wouldn't be surprised, if they read each other's before the decision went out.
Absolutely, they were friends
for proofing purposes, not editorial. And I could see Scalia, and
they have pretty good people clerking for them.
Yes, and Ginsburg laughing at each other about, oh, I knew you'd use that, that. But both of them were writers. And that Hobby Lobby decision was something I would have expected out of, the dissent was something I would have expected out of Sotomayor. Now, we do know
Sotomayor doesn't dissent. She whines.
That clerks are going downhill because we had that leak.
Well, kind of unthinkable not that long ago.
Well, yeah, the idea that
I know that they're going to get right on that and find out who did that.
Well, they're never going to find it because it.
What?
I actually believe that it came from a justice.
But they've got top people looking at it. Prospero.
Top.
I've been convinced for a while that it came from a justice, and her name's been mentioned.
Wow.
It's the kind of.
I don't want to accuse anybody.
I don't think Breyer would have done it.
Unless we know something.
I don't think Breyer would have done it on his way out. He seemed pretty angry that kind of stuff took place. And he was far more of a principled, disciplined individual. I was just thinking, who is the single most undisciplined justice I know?
Well, there's really only one. In point of fact.
And that's why I would posit that it came from that justice's office in one form or another. Because that individual has been the only undisciplined one in really that undisciplined in my lifetime.
Yeah.
Breyer had a screw loose, in my opinion, in his political thinking and what his ethics were. But
don't you think that you'll find out later, though? Don't you think that you'll find out?
I don't know if I'll live long enough.
Well, yeah, that's exactly what you think.
Because the wise Latina might outlive me. And
yes, the wise Latina almost certainly will.
I have never heard anything more insulting in my life to jurisprudence than somebody suggesting that their ethnicity made them a better lawyer.
But it does.
Well,
a black lawyer is better than a white lawyer,
under no circumstances did Thurgood Marshall ever even consider speaking those kinds of words.
You're not wrong.
And I disagreed with his legal philosophies. But my God, Thurgood Marshall did not play that card.
I saw Thurgood Marshall called a racist by another activist the other day, saying that he was in the pocket of the white man.
Fuck's sake. Oh my God, that is so
absolutely stunning to me that somebody who showed that much courage could be that
Jesus Christ
tarnished.
That is so insulting.
How do you even say those words?
Good. You say them the same way you say that MLK doesn't mean anything because he was a step infection.
Oh God, yeah. I've heard the house servant kind of talk
Anybody
from,
know who Medgar Evers is who's talking about any of these people? I'm sure they don't. Oh, they might have heard of his murder, so they'll use that as a bat, but they don't know.
Mississippi back in the late 60s sucked.
Yes, it did. It sucked.
Some would argue it still does. There's a
guarantee
reason
it.
why the
I've
houses
driven
are so
through it
cheap.
in the last 2 years. It still sucks as of 2 years ago.
Not that there aren't going to be nice places there, but on the whole, I don't want to move to Mississippi.
No,
There aren't nice places. There are not nice
well,
places.
there are some along the coast. Okay, calm down. There are. There's a little bit of 90 that's nice.
What? Biloxi?
Well, there are going to be nice places in
Which was
Mississippi.
the town, that was the town in which I was conceived, by the way.
Well, that explains a lot.
Well, that's TMI.
In one of the
Past Christian is.
We don't need to know that.
Past Christian is okay.
No, I worked that out myself.
Past Christian is okay. And Long Beach, that area down 90 is all right. And not everything in Natchez sucks sour shit.
Mm.
Although
I can't
Natchez
believe that my mother was 6 months pregnant and drove across the deserts from Waco, Texas to Albuquerque, New Mexico, 6 months pregnant, and plopped me out.
Of course she
3 months
did.
later.
Of course she did, because for somebody to suggest that she not do it would have been
No air conditioning. No air conditioning in the car, by the way.
Well, this was before global warming, so it was cooler.
Yeah, of course there was no air conditioning. What are you talking about?
You didn't need air conditioning back then.
I mean, people, when I tell people I was a child of summer, they're like, oh, what do you mean? I said I was born in a house in Florida in June. That house was not air conditioned.
Yeah.
It was air conditioned when I was 2 years old. But my 2 formative years, which is why I have vestigial gills, by the way, we're in a house 2 blocks from the St. Johns River.
What do they call those windows that are like
Jalousie
shutters that just
they crank open? The jalousie windows.
Oh, okay.
What are they called?
Jalousie.
I've heard
like
that.
the song
That was...
Jalousie. Jalousie. Jalousie windows.
Not a very well-known song.
I know, but I know it because
jealousy.
My mother used to
this
sing,
little jealousy.
No, my mother used to sing leprosy. My God, I have leprosy. There goes my eyeball into my eyeball. It was something they sang in college, I think. Yeah, I had, if anybody ever wants to try to figure out my sense of humor, you need a time machine and you need to meet my mom and dad.
Same.
Oh, well, you had that film, though, sweetheart. I don't have that of my parents. And that film told me everything I needed to know. When you have video of your parents, it's something else.
Yep. Most people didn't have video or film of their parents unless it was on vacation.
Yeah,
that was a thing you did to basically say, look, we actually did this.
Yeah.
We didn't just close up the house and pretend we were gone. let the mail accumulate, then pretend we show up late one morning and then we're all there and tanned because we've been under sun lamps the whole time. No, we took pictures.
I mean,
it started with the Brownie. I think I mentioned that before, so we don't need to go over it again. But the Brownie camera was the big
Brownie Starmite
thing that that essentially made photography something that the masses could do. Because before that, you would buy postcards as if to prove, hey, I was actually in this place. Look, I brought back a picture printed on this card, or you could mail it to somebody.
Mm-hmm.
But postcard business never really recovered from cameras.
Although. Well, I guess the last postcards I remember sending were in the, 1985. That time period.
You know, the idea of writing letters to one another, that really is a huge change that happened in the middle of the 20th century.
Yeah.
That there's no
Telephone
writing
changed it.
letters anymore.
Telephone changed it.
Telephone changed that. Yeah, exactly.
And then the email
Yeah.
put paid to it.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
But you can, it's, you know, I mean, yeah, I still feel that it's wrong to write a thank you to somebody via email,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm going to do it because my handwriting is execrable.
You have terrible handwriting?
Oh, I do now. I mean, I always did.
Wrecked by years of taking notes.
Cramped, half script, half printed, just bizarre. I've never had good handwriting though. I never took the proper class, nor would I have.
How's your handwriting, Harry? Bad.
Well, it depends on whether I care or not. If I actually care, okay. Well, it depends. Are we talking about actually?
When you're just writing a handwritten note to somebody you're going to post on a door, how's your handwriting?
Well, I wouldn't write it in cursive script for that. If I was writing an actual letter, my cursive script is pretty terrible. But as somebody who has actually done drafting before without computers, I can block letter with the best of them.
I can print well, yeah.
Yeah, my printing is pretty damn good, and my Greek letters aren't that bad either. Right. Well, if you're talking about cursive, other than signing my signature, I have no reason to practice it, so I'm very, very, very sloppy.
Yeah.
It's been decades since I've had to care.
My cursive sucks, and it always has. My mother's was okay. My father-in-law had, obviously, he took that class in handwriting, and he had the most beautiful cursive.
I took it seriously, it sounds like.
All my family members, because my father's cursive was total crap. His printing was fine. And I print a lot like my dad because I liked the way he printed. My mother always used cursive, but see, Mom had also taken Greg's because she was a stenographer. She would use shorthand in writing out notes, and I'd be like, "What's that? I told you that's a this," you know. And I'm like, "I don't know. I'm not going to remember that. That's not English. That's Greg's shorthand. Stop it, Mama." And I find handwritten recipes like that, and I'm like, what the fuck does that symbol mean?
Do you realize that a lot of the people who might be listening to this don't know what you're talking about when you say Greg shorthand? Do you want to?
Oh, it was a particular style of shorthand that was very popular.
What is shorthand?
Shorthand is a way of note-taking that was done by stenographers so that they could then sit down and transpose those
the spoken words by somebody
to a letter,
right?
And it was,
and you can write them very fast, very efficiently.
Yes, and my mother continued to use certain symbols from it, even though she would put real words in it. And I'd look at it and I'd be like, "What's that? I've already told you." It's like, why would I know this? Aren't you going to take a business class? She would say to me. You know, and I was like, no, because I don't want the job you had.
If I was dealing with a stenographer, I think just for fun, I would, if they were, and I was speaking and they were jotting everything down, I would intentionally pick words and arrange them in such a way as to make their life miserable just because it would amuse me.
Yes. So would I. But my mother told me about working as a stenographer. And to me, that sounded like at least the third circle of hell, if not a little deeper.
Yeah, it's not quite Satan's rectum, but it's, which is the ninth circle, but it's...
And Mama worked in the days when the male stenographers got paid more than the female ones, even though they were doing the exact same job, because men had families to take care of.
Well, double entry accounting is no real fun thing either.
Yeah, and I think she knew that too.
There's a lot of boring things in this world that pay reasonably well.
Well,
Because
my
of
mother
it.
got paid shit, but that was the 1940s.
Yeah. Not
Part
a
of
lot
the
of
reason-
risk.
Part of the reason accounting is relatively high paying is the work is miserable.
Yeah.
There's absolutely no payoff, no intellectual, psychological happiness that exists innately in accounting.
Yeah. Nobody derives joy from an actuarial table either.
Yeah, or if you do, bless your heart.
Yeah, I know. I mean, seriously. There were just certain
Serious
things
blessing.
that the minute I learned about them, Greg's shorthand, typing, which to my chagrin, I really should have learned to type better. But live and learn, right?
Mhm.
You know, typing-
Actuarial tables, double entry bookkeeping, all of those things, just in principle, gave me hives.
Roughly what year did you learn to type?
Oh, I took a summer school class, and
Roughly what year?
74, and it was
Mhm.
horrible. 73 or 4, somewhere in there. It was a summer school class. My mother made me take it. I had to go to class in summer. I was fraught with resentment. And they played this stupid music, and you did F, F, F space, J, J, J space. I learned nothing.
But you're so easygoing. I'm really surprised that you say that.
Shut up, Harry.
I'll trade the story of my own learning typing.
Shut up.
Well, it's not like slide rule class is all that much fun.
I know, but I'm just.
But at least there you get a giant slide rule to look at. You'll look at that comically large slide rule.
Yes. Look, I had better things to do.
Of course, it was summer.
It was, and I'm a child of summer, and it was too short in New England anyway. And oh my God, it was horrifying. Where I learned to type better was once I got on computers and had to type more. I'm still a bit of a peeker. And then when I did the nerve damage in my left hand, it completely fucked up everything because I'd gotten pretty good. And now I have to.
And your words per second went to shit after you messed your hand up.
Yeah, it did, because I just can't stand using my pinky because I don't have proper feeling in it. So I'm using my ring finger where I should be using my pinky on my left hand. So it can cause me to shift left on the keyboard.
Oh, really? That's the way you compensate?
Yeah, I have to be careful. I have to
start moving your left hand around, and then that really slows you down because you occasionally misplace. Yeah. That's the way that I learned typing was my parents wisely said, "Listen, we're going to give you this book. It's like, teach yourself typing." I forget what the name of it was. But it had exercises in it. It said, do one of these exercises every week. Just keep at it. Just practice all the time. You can stay down to your room. If we hear you typing, we won't bother you. That was all they had to say to me.
Oh my God.
And that's when Skep learned to make a robot that makes typing noises.
But seriously, my sisters would leave me alone. They were told to leave me alone. My parents would leave me alone. And so I learned to, and they said, if you make it through this book and can demonstrate that you've really learned to type, we will buy you a Tasco 2.4-inch refracting telescope for your Christmas present. This freshman in high school. This is 1967, I'm going to say. There was 66, 67, that school year. And so that fall, I studied, worked like I really meant it. And I actually learned to type pretty well. And I still type well today. It's the only manual dexterity skill, except maybe playing the guitar, that I have.
Except for that one. Yeah.
Gee, except for that one. Well, the thing is I learned to play the piano, okay?
Yeah, yes, yeah, you're a piano picker.
But typing, well, I was, but typing isn't the same it's not the same, and my mother was like, but you can play the piano, you can learn to type. And I'm like,
Not wrong.
well, I mean, yes, I can move my fingers independently from each other, but
You got a pretty good
it's
mind and pretty good
JK.
linkage to that mind.
Yeah, except the spacing is entirely different.
Fair.
I did not play the organ, okay? There weren't ranks of keys that I played.
No,
I'm sure organists are great typists.
they're not as good as Idahoists or Montanists, but yes.
I'm up past my bedtime for this bullshit.
I'm sorry. I just childish, irritating puns just have always appealed to me. I've been this way since childhood.
Organ. Yeah, it's true. It's hard to say organ without sounding like saying Oregon if you're swallowing the organ.
When I say organ, I always say Oregon. I hear myself saying Oregon. I know it's not quite that bad. I can say organ, but I don't like saying Oregon like most Americans say. That just bothers me.
I say Oregon. Like A-U-R-E.
For the state.
Yeah, Oregon.
But for the human tissue.
Organ.
You say organ, right?
Organ.
You don't say organ. You say organ.
Organ.
Yeah. It's not O-R-G-I-N.
Well, I know, but it still sounds like
That's what I hear.
organ.
Yep.
Because I'm sorry, I'm Southern. Organ.
Organ.
Organ. A kidney is an organ. Fuck that. An instrument is an organ.
If a kidney is an organ, is a kidney surgeon an organist?
Yes.
There you go.
Possibly an origamist.
Origamist.
Well, if you're swapping one out for the other.
Oh, you got me looking at a map of Tallahassee. That's the only flight emergency I ever had was at that airport. We had to land without flaps.
I have never been to Tallahassee.
You haven't really missed that much.
Born in that state, never visited the capital.
The only good thing about Tallahassee, the thing that I really like,
it's not Miami.
When the people there are so friendly.
I've heard that.
They are just the nicest folks. It's like being in Iowa, and you just kind of going, "What?"
Yeah.
And FSU is just like Florida State is like paradise. I see why people go to that school. It's just big fun. Beach is right down the road. Weather is very, very mild.
Right down the road. It's a bit more than right down the road, but
it's less than an hour away.
Well, yeah, but that's not right down the road.
I
live 13 miles from Jacksonville Beach. So
yeah, your idea of living near the beach and my idea of living to me, I live near the beach. And I'm 6 hour drive away.
So do I now.
Bad. Delusional. You do not live near the beach.
I don't think I live near the beach. I live the farthest away from a beach and I have lived the majority of my life the farthest away from a beach after growing up in 2 coastal towns.
Well, somebody who is going to live near a beach is my son. Would you guys like to see my son's house? Don't worry. I have no problem doxing Mike. If you want to go visit him, go visit
knock
him.
yourself out.
I'm going to show you Mike's house. I'm going to call it,
it's such a temperate beach too.
Oh my gosh. This is so funny.
It's absolutely amazing. From high altitude BF Colorado to BF Beach Town.
Yeah, he's going to go from 8,000 feet to sea level. That's one thing that
he can oxygenate the hell out of himself. Hey Adam, how are you, sweetheart? See,
Ta-da! Let's see. Where's Juno? Juno. There's Skagway. There's Haynes. All right. We'll go down to Haynes and we find Lake Chillicat and we follow the road to the little bridge. This is.
if
I
y'all
can't
heard
believe Mike is
Skagway,
doing this.
you ought to have a hint what he's talking about now.
All right. Now, this is naturally near Haines, Alaska. And I've got it on the screen. So now let's go ahead and do the share thing. And we'll just do that and this. Come on. Let's see. The Google Maps. And we share. Okay. This. Can you see the red screen, the red roofed house in the middle of this?
Yes.
And you see a little pier going out into what looks like
Is
blackness.
that where he parks his car?
No, that's where he parks his boat. There
that's
is
what I
no
meant.
car. There is no road.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. That's where he parks. He will park his boat right there. That's his house. This is
Nice piece of land.
this is, I think, the old house, and he uses it as a bunk room. He has outbuildings and all this kind of stuff. But anyway, and this is Birch Island. It's just off. But let me just show you. Keep your eye on where my cursor is. As I pull out, there's Chillicat Lake, and there is the Chillicat River. You see Haines in the bottom right-hand side of the thing, and Skagway is due north, straight up, and you can see that on the right side of the screen, upper right side of the screen.
Mm-hmm.
That is where my son is moving to, right there, right where that cursor is.
Well, I'm going to Snopes this. First of all, there's no sand, so it's not a beach. Second of all, that's a lake, so it's not a beach. So yes, he lives by the water, but he does not live by the beach.
Okay. That lake has a big outlet to basically the ocean. And you're right. It is a snowmelt lake. But it still counts as beach.
I bet
because
it's chilling.
There is sand up there. It's actually quite warm. It's like 34 degrees.
Oh, that's just awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a nice place.
Die in about 20 minutes. If you're lucky. But anyway, yeah.
No, I'd die if somebody told me I had to go live there, because it would be like, I know.
To Mike, that's paradise. He absolutely thinks that is paradise.
And he loves cold, apparently.
Well, yeah, he's moving from 8,000 feet in the mountains of Colorado to here. So he wants less altitude, same cold. But I will say this. It is absolutely beautiful up there.
I'm sure it's gorgeous.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure it's gorgeous, and you don't have a whole lot of neighbors, but it just...
This is what it looks like up there.
Isn't that pretty? There are actually leaves on the trees.
Mm-hmm.
Everywhere you go, it looks like this. It really is beautiful. And, he's shown me pictures that he's taken up there, and it's just picture postcard after picture postcard. It's just absolutely beautiful up there.
Yeah, but it's fucking Alaska.
It is fucking Alaska, and the picture you're seeing right here is let's see if I've got September of 2011.
Yeah.
So it snowed since then.
It's the super long days in the summer and the super long nights in the winter that would annoy me. I can handle the rest of it, but it being dark out for 17, 18 hours a day, that's no.
Depressive.
Yeah. I mean, and even it being light all the time in the summer,
I need my vitamin D, man.
Find me a colder place near the equator. That would be fine.
Yeah.
Machu Picchu.
Yeah.
God bless you. Yeah, actually, one of the best places, in my opinion, to live is Colorado Springs, Colorado. You get 250 sunny days out of the year. It's one of the sunniest places in America, and it is absolutely gorgeous if you don't mind, the late fall and early springs are chilly.
But yeah, and the snowfall isn't terrible because the
Snowfall's never terrible in Colorado Springs.
well, yeah, no, because it's southern Colorado, and so it's
Well, it's at the foot of the ramparts. The ramparts extract all the snow.
yeah, but it's you're on the dry side of the Rockies.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
Denver's snowfall is not that bad. You get
Denver's same way. Yeah.
Yeah, you get up in.
Problem with Denver is it's in a bowl.
Yeah, but
And you get the inversions.
You get up above Denver just a little bit.
Yeah, that's why everybody lives up in Evergreen.
Evergreen. I was thinking Evergreen.
Yeah, just go up the hill.
And it'll snow in June.
Yeah.
It's just bizarre because you're going down to that very arid high plains. And Colorado Springs, I just thought was beautiful because it wasn't as crowded as Denver, and Pikes Peak really is just something else. And
it dominates the area in the way that Long's Peak does not dominate.
Yeah,
Long's Peak is not a dominating looking mountain, and it's too far away from Denver to be dominating.
Yeah, it's kind of
Pikes Peak is right over the city.
Yeah. Denver, the effect is kind of cluttered, where kind of the majesty of the Rockies is lit up a little bit more.
Well, the secondary mountains around Denver are higher than the secondary mountains around in the southern part of the Front Range. That's exactly right. And that's actually the Front Range. I said ramparts. It's not. It's actually the Front Range.
But Pikes Peak is just kind of like, and so you have
yes.
You have that Mount Hood kind of focal point.
Yes.
For pretty that in the Broadmoor and things like that.
Oh man, I used to go skiing at the Broadmoor in the middle of the night. My dad would take me skiing. We'd come back at 1 o'clock in the morning from having night skied all night at the Broadmoor.
Well, Dad was at Camp Collins, Fort Collins, for a brief stay during the war. After he got back from Europe, I think maybe before they moved him to San Luis Obispo. He just kept getting bumps up after the shit of Europe, but he was on the other side of the country from where he wanted to be. But he wanted to go to, Colorado Springs was one of the things he wanted to go to because he wanted to see the Broadmoor.
Well, it
and the Air Force
Academy.
He wanted to see the Air Force Academy because of
because Air Force Academy.
Well, because he had wanted to join the Army Air Corps, but even though he memorized the eye chart, he got caught. Second go around,
probably just as well.
Yeah. Yes. Considering he had a lazy eye, so there we went in 1972 when we were out there. He had a meeting in Denver, and that promulgated the only non-coming to Richmond to visit family vacation that we had.
Wow.
Mom and I flew out to Denver, met up with Dad. We drove down to Albuquerque.
You missed me by 5 years.
Yeah. We drove across to the Grand Canyon, did the Painted Desert, Petrified Forest, went to the Grand Canyon, went to Vegas, went to Kings Canyon, went to Yosemite, did not get north of San Francisco, but went to San Francisco, came down the coast to Carmel, Monterey, and then down to LA to see my cousins, and then down to San Diego. So that was that's
a pretty good trip.
It was a wonderful trip. I was 14, so I was old enough to appreciate it.
Awesome.
I can remember being in good enough shape that I trotted up a flight of stairs to an overview at Kings Canyon.
Mm.
I'd die at that altitude now.
Yeah, it's interesting when you go back. I used to be so physically fit. I mean,
Yeah, I was playing basketball, so of course I could run, you know.
well, you get and so you think that so you go back and you think, well, I remember, I used to be able to walk at this pace when I'm on the Air Force Academy at
Lol.
7,500 feet, and it's just you dragging ass after a few hundred feet. You just
Somebody give
kinda
me a
go,
wheelchair.
what the hell? Yeah, exactly. Boy, you're not wrong.
Yeah.
You're not wrong.
I mean, I don't oxygenate well anymore anyway because
Mhm.
age and smoking. But yeah,
Do you want to? Here's a funny story about what happens when you go to Mount Haleakala with a couple of nurses and you start to pass out.
been there.
Here's true. Well,
Didn't pass out, but
were you with two nurses? My wife is a nurse and my stepdaughter is a nurse, and I was out in Hawaii with these two, and just absolutely had no pity on me at all. We were out in Maui and we went to the top of Haleakala to just look, and that's 14,000 feet. And you
yeah,
go
did
to
you do the
14,000
buffering?
feet.
Yeah.
You go from 0 to 14,000 feet, and nothing flat. And what happened was we went up a little bit too fast for me, and I started to get I started to hyperventilate, and
Ooh.
these two. So I'm in the car. I'm in the passenger seat in the car. Fortunately, I'm not driving, and I start hyperventilating, and my stepdaughter says, "Don't do that. You're gonna pass out." And my wife says, "You're gonna pass out." And I'm like, I'm trying not to, but I'm trying to get air, and I'm getting mad. And and they're like, "He'll be asleep in a minute. Doesn't matter. Then he'll stop and he'll wake up." And they're just calmly discussing the fact that I'm about to pass out. And I nearly passed out. I got the dots, the purple dots, and everything. And I finally got my breathing under control. And they were right. When you stop hyperventilating, it's the most counterintuitive thing. That's my point.
Yeah.
It's the most counterintuitive thing in the world. It's stop hyperventilating.
Yeah,
If you
more
can
is
do
better.
that,
Hold your nose.
exactly.
Hold your nose.
But just the complete uncaring cynicism with which these two women, who ostensibly love me, right?
Yeah, but
They,
you were a
they
patient.
they were laughing at me.
You're
They
the
were just,
potential patient that they're going to have to deal with, so they're mocking you ruthlessly
yeah,
to your
it's
face because
lucky
you're
to
not
get
going to
any
sue
care
them.
from either one of them.
I know you're not going to sue them.
Should we try and resuscitate him? I don't know. What does the will look like?
I know. Do you know where it is? Are you
Yeah,
sure that's the combination to the safe?
God, we are so prepared for my death around here. We just did a walkthrough.
When we went up,
Everybody should do that. If I can just give that PSA in there. Get ready to die. Take your family through what they will have to do after you die for your financial and all the stuff. Write down all the stuff. There's lots of guides online to do this. Dead serious about this, just for a second. When you get to be 70, something I've noticed about 70 years old, they tend to not live as long as teenagers and that many more years. Prepare for your own death. You're going to die. Don't fuck your family over by taking a bunch of secrets to the grave. Teach them what to do when you leave, breadwinners. All right, PSA over. Thank you. Everybody's happily contemplating the death of Skep now.
No, I'm just trying to find the more you know video graphic.
Yeah, that's what we need is do you remember what, Prospero, do you remember when they used to announce PSAs?
Yeah.
The following is a public service announcement. Do you remember those?
From the Broccoli Advisory Board.
Yeah.
Yeah, Broccoli Advisory
Board. When they took us up Haleakala.
This week in broccoli.
What's wrong, Billy? When I go to the beach, all the big heads get sand in my face, and I don't like it. Well, Billy, have you been eating your broccoli? Broccoli? I don't like broccoli. Sorry, never mind. Carry on.
Yeah.
Just have a little play going on in my head. Oh, gee, do I have to? Just try it, Billy. No.
All the bullies kick sand in my face. What can I do? Well, Billy, have you tried this new Glock 9mm?
I don't have any money. Well, you can buy it on installments. That's what layaway's for, Billy.
Exactly.
If they keep kicking sand in your face, you'll save money real fast. Wait, now you switch voices. Damn it. This is why we don't have nice things.
This is why we don't have nice things. Where did that come from? Where did that expression come from? This is why we can't have nice things. Why we don't have nice things. What is the origin of that expression?
I don't know. Let's check with Snopes, because whatever we think, they're just going to tell us that's not what it is.
Yeah, exactly. Whatever's true, that'll be wrong too. Of nice things origin. Okay, what is the origin of the phrase, this is why we can't have nice things? The phrase, this is why we can't have nice things, shows up in TV, films, and memes. I asked Google where it came from and got some specific examples that are too recent, like Jane Austen's Mafia 1998 film or an early Simpsons episode. But others say that their parents or grandparents had used the phrase as long ago as the 1950s. Interesting. The only answer I can coming up, yes, it was Paula Poundstone in the late 1980s invented the phrase. This is what happens when you get your answers from Quora.
I love Paula Poundstone.
I love Paula Poundstone too, but she didn't invent the phrase. She just
there's no way in hell she invented the phrase.
But she has an amazing sense of humor. She's an actual funny comedian.
I would be shocked if it didn't show up in a Looney Tunes cartoon. I mean, long before Paula Poundstone. These people are morons.
Yeah. Boy, I really... yeah, I'm seeing stuff from, Simpsons and... so it evidently was popularized heavily on The Simpsons. I don't remember it coming from The Simpsons, but there have been times in The Simpsons where I just stopped watching it for like 2 years at a time.
Well, The Simpsons would tap into popular culture.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean anything.
Yeah. Phrase origins. Yeah.
I do like to use the word embiggen, and that's something that the Simpsons made up. And I usually only use it.
I thought you made that up.
Oh, no. It's a thing that supposedly something, Shemp Springfield, the founder of Springfield and the Simpsons, has engraved on his stupid statue. His famous thing. Something
Embiggen.
Embiggens yeah. I only use the phrase when I'm talking about making like a virtual hard drive larger or something like that. I'll say embiggen. I also like using the word transmogrify, but that's just because I enjoy Calvin and Hobbes.
Yeah.
Most people use transmogrify incorrectly too. That's they don't even know what it means. But anyway, yeah, I didn't realize that embiggen, which has been added to a U.S. dictionary, was a word first heard on The Simpsons in 1966. Merriam-Webster has included the word, which was popularized partly because of the comic Ms. Marvel. Okay, so it was not The Simpsons, it was Ms. Marvel just 2 years ago.
Oh, I like that name.
And now, it also does say it is from the motto, The Simpsons' fictional town of Springfield, the noble spirit embiggens the smallest man. But even though that was from 1996, Ms. Marvel invented it before that in 2021.
You know when Brie Larson was the first female superhero?
Mm-hmm.
It was at that
First
time.
one.
Okay. Yeah.
First one. Yeah.
First woman to ever be in science fiction because, alien never happened.
Seriously, listening to one of the attorneys for Jussie Smollett,
Juicy Smollett? Yes.
for Juicy Smollett or Jussie or whatever his name
I
is.
love how Gadsad talks about him. Juicy Smollett.
Anyway, yes, exactly. And so what this guy said was that belief is a choice. You can choose what you believe, and you can make a moral choice. You can make a better moral choice sometimes than what may have actually physically happened. We can make it better by believing something better.
Clap
by
if you believe in
believing
fairies.
Hang on. By believing Jussie Smollett, you are believing a better truth. Why can't we do this with everything? That was his point, and he made his point very eloquently. You know, he said belief is a choice. You can make a better moral choice, and if you can look past the limitation of just referring to history as what physically may have happened on the physical layer, what needed to have happened on the moral layer is what history should be, and that's how we can have better history and be better people. What's wrong with that? That's not.
I'm glad it's that simple. I was thinking it would require like personal growth or something, but I just have to do that.
No. Just
I don't have to like jog 4 miles every morning.
No deontological ethics, nothing.
Just sign your assets over to us, and we'll take care of you.
Thank you.
If you haven't done anything wrong, you have
Father Government. I love you.
If we just go full libertarian on this show, I do love that. Why can't they leave us the fuck alone?
Because they can't let other people be happy when they're unhappy. Their happiness.
But they're never happy.
Oh, well, there you go.
Oh, that's how it works, isn't it?
Yes.
Oh.
Kafka trap.
This is Kafka trap. Exactly what it is.
I can't be happy till everybody believes the way I think, and they won't do it. God damn it. And I'm never going to be happy. It's just the amount of bratty anger trapped in adults on the left is agonizing. I mean, I'd feel sorry for them if they weren't so destructive. They have no belief system. None. They are their belief system. You know, and when, you know, it's worse than Nietzsche's supposed God is dead, which, okay, folks, that's not what Nietzsche meant, okay? But anyhow, they are God, but nobody else seems to want to believe them. And they don't have enough acolytes. And it's making them angry. And they don't understand why mommy can't make it better. Or daddy. Well, that's okay, because daddy went out for cigarettes because you were that much of a cunt, and so was your mommy. You know, I mean, you look at somebody like that Crick bitch, and you just know that click. Daddy didn't give me everything I wanted. You know, the daddy issues, the mommy, whatever. Their inner child. I mean, you know, you've talked about the inner child, the inner adult. Inner children are running everything right now.
Yeah,
and
there are a lot of people with damaged children parts.
Yes, and they're unpredictable.
And usually, one thing about that style of analysis is if you have a damaged child, you frequently have a damaged parent.
Yeah, I mean they're damaged. We're definitely dealing with damaged goods, but the problem is, fair number of those damaged goods people are in positions of ostensible power. They sought that power as a way to heal that damaged child. But if the damaged child had control like the adult ostensibly has control, then everything would be better. Except what's missing from that is, I think healthy adults recognize that control is illusory. There are things you can control.
Mm-hmm.
Yourself.
Certainly.
Sometimes.
But that's
Well,
the
we have the
easiest
illusion
thing. That's
that
the
we
easiest
control
thing.
ourselves.
But like
Yeah.
I've said,
But that's the easiest thing to change.
but that, like I've said, the bowels, the bladder, and the behavior, those are the three things you can control, and they're all problematic over the course of your life. You don't have control over much else. And, you know, primarily we're talking about behavior.
Mm.
And, you know, because bowels and bladder being inconsequential to this, you have control over your behavior. Do you or do you not delay gratification? Do you or do you not act the fool? You know, do you act the child or do you act the adult? You know, there's a lot to the expression "fake it till you make it."
Oh, let me tell you.
Because for anybody who has a glimmer into TA or just some understanding of how introverts and extroverts learn to manage their tendencies so that they rub along well with others, a lot of it is faking it until you make it. And you learn a lot while you're faking it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if your eyes are open, if your internal eyes are open, you might be walking out wearing that mask, doing the sales job when you're not really comfortable doing that or whatever. But you should always take notes. Take notes about how you feel, take notes about what you learn about interacting with people. But you're faking it till you make it. You know, our parents were doing that when we were babies.
Mm-hmm.
You can read, I don't care how much Dr. Spock you read. When your child is crying and will not stop crying,
You figure it out.
every parent is going to have that panicky, I suck. I'm never going to be any good at this. Oh, dear God. I'm a failure.
Let me just tell
It's
you.
2 o'clock in the morning, you know?
Let me just tell you the evolution, how that feeling evolves as you go from kid to kid. Your first kid, you're absolutely right. You do. You say, "What am I doing wrong? What's wrong?"
It
Panic.
must be me.
All that's all right. Exactly. Second kid, it's like this. Kid's crying. Oh, will you go see what he wants? There really is a gigantic adjustment that happens between first and second child.
Because children
And
cry.
you're right.
Yeah.
My point is that you are exactly right. You fake it until you make it, and you fake it a lot on the first child. Children are like pancakes. I know you've probably said this to yourself many times. Children like pancakes. You should get to throw the first few out, you know, because you never get the griddle exactly the right heat.
Yeah.
So the first ones are messed up. And when you get the griddle exactly right, when you really know what it is to start producing kids, I'm a much better parent to my grandchildren than I was to my children. I guarantee you I am, simply because of what I learned on my children.
I'm sure your daughter is learning already that everything she thought she knew about being the perfect mom.
Yep.
And women are particularly hard on themselves because they're the, in quote, nurturer. Therefore, they're supposed to. And look, I don't have any kids.
What about when your husband dies young and you blame yourself for it?
Right.
By the way, we're adopting another 10-year-old next week.
Oh, good. That's wonderful. That's going to
taking Jenna's overflow.
Yeah, that's going to
fix everything. This one is black. So we will.
Oh yeah,
we
Jenna.
will,
Don't let Jenna know. She'll try to, intercept.
I know. I was thinking that today when I heard that Katie had gotten a line on another kid's foster kid in trouble,
Mhm.
just like the other one, just like the other three. So
I'm going to keep trying till I get it right.
we'll do this. Yeah, we'll do this. And but this is so I will keep you guys up to date. And as I understand, this is a behavioral dynamo who is about to enter our lives. We already have the word. I can't get into a lot of detail here, but
May God have mercy.
oh God, I don't know if I have. Anyway, we'll find the strength to do this because this is what we do.
I will not.
And we all kind of
in
enjoy
my head.
it. That's the other thing too. The other thing is all of us enjoy children. We just love kids.
And also, give this kid a shot.
Yeah.
Give him a shot. Give him a legit shot.
Yeah, absolutely. And the grandchild who you guys know her name, who I was most worried about, is about to graduate from high school and has been accepted to college and is actually going to go to college.
Wow.
Yeah,
miracles do happen.
Just a junior college, but hey, little steps. Steps.
Dude, an associate's degree is better than prison.
Yeah. Well, she's actually in a degree plan. She's in a degree plan that if she completes the 2 years at this JC, she will go directly into the UTA system, and she'll finish her degree at University of Texas at Arlington.
Well, that's excellent.
For way less money than going there for 4 years or 5.
Or going to Austin.
Exactly. Austin is just out of hand right now.
Well, going to Austin and pretend like you're going to college.
I want to go to UC Santa Barbara.
Yeah. Well, but it's interesting.
UCSB actually had a very interesting college. That's where my friend Tim May was to UCSB, but he went to the College for Creative Inquiry, the thing where they take 40 students from around the world. Malcolm Muggeridge's idea for the great scholars was going to be at UCSB, and Tim was one of the 40 that year. He turned down MIT. He was accepted. He was early accepted at MIT and turned them down. Do you know who turned down Tim? Caltech.
No.
Caltech.
Well, he probably his application didn't fly as far down the stairs as some of the other ones. That's the thing. Well,
he never got over that.
Well, you know the story about how they do that. They get so many applications for so many amazing people that there's no way to differentiate. So they literally just they used to take just a pile of applications and they would toss them off this particular stairwell, and the ones that were the furthest were the ones that basically they picked. It was a method.
It was a method.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
It's probably
in search of randomness.
It's probably as good as any other in that kind of decision because
We'll just let the universe decide.
Well, yeah. I mean, because Jesus. When you've got that's what are the shades of difference? Because there are plenty of people in educational research. I've got a friend who did a lot of it that, there's so many random variables as to whether somebody will pan out or won't pan out. There are certain things that stand out, and that's all been written about.
Jordan Peterson does a pretty good job of breaking that down.
Yeah.
Conscientiousness and basically talent.
Trait. The big fives.
Yep.
And I don't think too many colleges are looking at that.
No.
Which is probably to their detriment.
No. They're asking important questions like, does she present as
are
black? Does she present as black? How dark is she?
Yeah, what gender are you? Oh my God! Yeah, if they're oh Jesus.
Yeah, I know. Get ready. It's
there's
coming.
There's nothing More
Do
disgusting.
you guys remember something from the bad old days of apartheid South Africa called the Cape Town Coloreds? I'll give
Mhm.
you a moment to get that on your Google machine, chat. The Cape Town Coloreds was a way of the Cape Coloreds were it was a South African ethnic classification and it was all the mixed race African, Asian, and European folks so that they could figure out who had what privileges
Mhm.
based on how deeply colored you were.
Yeah, literal Robin DiAngelo. Literal, like ask Sherwin
Generally,
Williams.
they spoke both Africans and English, and they. I wanted to get to the. Yeah, that's where the hot knot term came from. It's a derogatory term used to refer to the Caucasian people and the coloreds. Of course, it's a play on Hottentot,
Mhm.
and but they just call them hot knots, from because they don't have anything. They're just poor, and it's a slur. And interesting, kafir is a racial slur that is used to refer to not white people or non-Muslims, but colored people and black people in South Africa.
Oh,
Originated from Arabic and was
yeah, kafir.
used to refer
Yeah.
to as non-Muslims, but later it was used by European colonizers to refer to black and colored people during the apartheid era, and the term became associated with racism and oppression, and it's still used against the Cape Coloreds.
You reduce, reuse,
Mixed
recycle.
race.
Yeah.
So
But
yeah,
it
there
really
you
is
go.
like taking paint chips, isn't it? And it's like, how dare you? How dare you do that to people? But it's what we do.
So anyway, we're about to do our Cape Coloreds, are we? Yay! We're going to have Cape Coloreds, and they're going to have varying levels of privileges based on which of the classifications they go into.
Oh my God! Get out
We
your
really
paper
need oppression
bags.
points, don't we?
Yeah, I mean, but get out your paper bags. That's
No kidding.
there is so much old school racism wrapped up in this that it's just terrifying.
Almost feels cyclical, doesn't it?
Yeah, everything old is new again.
I just wonder if it's maybe white people's turn in the barrel this time. And
yeah, they've never been there before. Asking Genghis Khan.
Well, see, that's the thing. Whites have always had it easy. They've always had everything handed to them, and that I think is the
looking at the Irish
objection.
in particular. Yes, I think you're right.
And Italians too, though.
Oh yeah,
Italians came over.
They're not white. They're not white. They're not
came
white.
over on luxury ships and just settled into easy retirement.
But they're not really
as soon as they
white.
hit shore.
Like,
yeah, that's true. Not really white.
Like all those Jews.
Yeah.
The Ashkenazi that glow in the dark, but they're Semitic. Oh my God!
For the benefit of anyone listening to this broadcast,
It's sarcasm.
We've hoisted the sarcasm operations pennant in progress underway and have put the appropriate signal pennants on a
this
line.
Is old person cynicism in action.
That's exactly what it is. But in point of fact, what we really would like to see is people treated equally and honored according to their abilities and accomplishments. That's all we want. All we want to, But it's interesting if you say meritocracy, people say you're being racist.
Yeah, you're a bigot.
That a meritocracy and logic is logic. Seriously, that referring to logic and mathematics is white thinking.
Oh, and if you speak of things like first principles, founding principles, deontological ethics, yeah, it's all white shit.
Yeah.
Those fucking Greeks.
They're all just frameworks used by white people to keep the brown man down.
Yeah.
because that's all we think about. I don't know
Well, it's all
about you,
some
but
people think about. You know, if you racialize everything, then you can't see anything without thinking about race, and it's just a rabbit hole you can never get out of.
I love that cat dancing cow and then the
Yeah.
spaceship. That is just so funny.
Do-do-do-do-do.
Wait a minute.
Yep.
I have not seen this. This is the first time I've seen
Isn't
it.
that adorable?
That is wonderful. Did you make that, Harry?
Oh God, no!
It's just the way the little cow's ears prick
I do
up.
not have that kind of talent.
It's so damn cute. And usually, like super cute. There's just something fascinating. I could watch it all night.
Did you like the thing I had up
I
before?
like that too.
Before, which was this thing?
Yes, I love that.
I did not see this.
Just because your job
because
sucks.
your job sucks. This is. It's kind of a Patrico slide. That's funny.
God.
Oh, that's so funny. Yep.
Clunk.
You really need to be familiar with Pacheco machines.
Yes.
To love this properly.
Or to have maybe played pinball. Are there? Yeah, if there were flappers in there, it'd be awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, it is a little bit like a pinball machine with the angled things.
Yeah, but they
that
need
is a
to
little
be
bit
able to
like a
move.
pinball.
There needs to be controls at the top. Dunk, 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 dunk. But there's no tilt sign, so
that is an extremely.
I like the
well-drawn
wildly
cartoon.
uneven blade teeth. That's really funny. Oh God, it's grim, but it's funny.
Yeah. Well, from
our
politics to the guillotine.
Yeah.
Closer than you think.
And we're
you guys, we've covered it tonight.
2 hours and 2 minutes. Yay.
Yes, we
we did a thing.
I want to say hello to chat. I want to thank Assassin and Joel and Green Badger and Nothing and Addie. Hi, Addie. And Adam coming out to see us and hanging with us. Thank you guys.
Particularly because Monkey was
so
streaming
much.
against us.
Oh yeah, this is.
He fired one up right before you sent out the, and I was like, God damn it.
That's fine. People can come and listen to this one later after they finish listening to Monkey. I never begrudge Monkey anything. I have such admiration for that guy. And but we're glad everybody joined us this evening. Does anybody else have anything else they need to or want to discuss with before the assembled crowd tonight?
No, thank you.
3, 2, 1, go. All right. Well, thank you guys for joining me on this journey, and thank you, chat, for coming out. We do this for you, and that's going to do it for us this evening. Yeah, it's been great fun, as it always is, with my friends Harry and Prospero and all you wonderful people out there listening to this broadcast. The zoo is closed, and I want to wish you a good night,